The question was discuss our thoughts on organizational culture, what types of culture we've experienced in the workplace, positive, negative, engaging, entertaining, and if you believe that leaders are able to shape culture. So maybe just starting off on what our thoughts are, each of us, on organizational culture, and just give each other like 30 seconds to a minute. Cool. Whoever wants to start.
I'll start us off. So my initial thoughts of culture, organizational culture, is it's kind of a confusing term to some degree, at least for me, just with like the different, environment, climate, culture, a lot of those things kind of like intertwine. I really liked in the text, it was on page 236, it kind of gave a metaphor. And it described it as a tribe and how tribes kind of come together and create their own music and all that. So I thought that was really cool. It kind of made everything make more sense for me.
Awesome.
I really loved the Zappos videos. I don't know if you guys have watched them yet, but I feel like company culture plays a huge part in overall the success of the company, how happy your employees are, happy to keep them. The thing that I thought was cool about this is the language, like how you can work for different places, but the language changes. So that was something that was interesting to me.
Awesome. Hey, Ronnie, do you think that you could mute your microphone just until you're talking? Because it keeps switching to you when we do it because of the voice. Thank you.
My bad.
No, you're fine. You're fine.
I also found interesting with it was like the 3 different levels basically, and the values and symbols. I guess the symbols wasn't something that I really thought about before, just how much it can influence everything.
Awesome. So for me, kind of one thing with just organizational culture is I just feel like there's such a difference between the positive and negative culture on someone liking their workplace and everyone getting along. And that Zappos video was awesome, just kind of showing the different, I guess, just the positive part of it. But yeah, the rites and rituals that can just create a change is such a big deal that I guess reading this chapter I didn't really think about.
And yeah, so with my own experience as well has been that rights, just like you said, rights and rituals have been a very big deal in the Army as far as hazing and things like that totally destroyed entire workplaces. And we get insane training on improving our whole organization is all based off of morale. So I definitely do believe that the leadership has a humongous influence. It's just done by even little things, just to shape that culture.
Awesome. Melissa?
I'd say, for having the expectations shaping the motivation of the employees, like letting them know what the company stands for and what they're representing, and making sure that everyone follows suit with that. Of course, they're going to develop their own, their own language and their own personalities and their own like family bond type thing in the company, but they still have to stick with the main goals and principles like that they're working for. Like they can't just branch off and do exactly, just their own thing.
Yep.
So yeah, just sticking with, what the company stands for, I guess.
So do you guys feel like leaders are able to shape a culture?
I definitely do.
For sure.
Regarding that question, I think leaders definitely play a huge role in kind of laying the groundwork to shape culture. They obviously do things to promote the culture, promote adaptive learning, trusting culture, all those kind of things, as well as kind of the managerial stuff as well. They actually recruit the followers. So they definitely play a large role. But I've always liked the idea of this one model I learned of the bicycle and how the leader is kind of the person steering while the followers are the people pedaling. So I think they definitely play a huge part in shaping that culture, but I think the followers also play just as important and instrumental of a role.
I completely agree. Like the role modeling is something that I think is really important just because a lot of times, when you see how your leader is acting or how, the way they take their role, it really does affect the way that, whether you take your role seriously or what you're aspiring to be, or, the fact that they're helping you and invested in you. But I think they have full control in the sense that the moment, I always like to say everything trickles from the top. So, if there's anything going on that's weird with leadership, it trickles all the way down to the bottom. So everybody feels it, if something's not right or if something's really great and they're trying to really nurture their, employees, it definitely helps kind of keep those followers intrigued and, a part of the team.
Yeah, if you have an inspired leader, then you have an inspired follower for sure. That makes sense.
I think for me, I think we've all had positive leaders and negative leaders, and I guess I used to work at a hospital birthplace, and so we had the student council, and it was handpicked by our leader, and she was really amazing to us. But she created this kind of these in groups and out groups. So if you were in this unit council, you were in an in group, but if you weren't, you were on this out group, and it just created this horrible positive culture for this unit, all of us that were unit council members, but this really negative subculture for people. It was almost like a hostility, and it just was uncomfortable, and it was a negative, I guess just a negative environment for everyone. And I was so happy to get out of there. I was there for 4 years, and what do you do? I mean, it's a job, and yes, when you're in the in-group, you don't realize it, but once I started taking all these classes, and again, I stopped working there 4 years ago, once I started taking all these classes for my organizational leadership degree, it all just kind of made sense. And I was like, oh my gosh, I didn't even realize I was one of those people.
So just a little something that I've experienced is that when I moved into the company position, Maryland, my predecessor tried actually telling me all about all the employees, all the other soldiers and civilians in my unit, and kind of picking out who were the trouble ones, who were the ones you give kind of crap jobs to and stuff because they just weren't high performers. I made it a point to not listen to what my predecessor had to say, and as I made my rounds on learning about everybody in the organization, I was able to just talk and just get a feel of what everybody thought, and being able to see where the shortcomings were. One of the guys in particular was he felt like he was being underused. So when I finally took the reins, I actually challenged him with more jobs, and it actually improved his morale. And he was happy that he was being used more of what his potential. Just in that alone, the culture or his morale change, changing the culture overall. I mean, it's just little tiny stuff.
It is.
One kind of odd thing, I guess, that I've run into before. So I used to compete with horses, and in that environment, a lot of times you have a lot of different barns at one area for months at a time. So you have a lot of different leaders in one area influencing a lot of different types of leadership. And that would totally transfer over into other barns and whatnot. And you would see that it would influence people a lot in a lot of negative ways and positive too. So that was kind of an odd thing to adjust to, being around different personalities like that.
Absolutely. I just feel like trying to, and again, you go to transformational leadership when you try and talk about adjusting everything and,
right,
and creating that subculture. But you have to. If you have a negative environment, it's just miserable for everyone.
Yep.
I don't know if you guys heard of Starbucks closing on the 29th. We had a sensitivity training, so that way we could all get on the same page with what the missions and values of the company were. So like making sure that everyone was comfortable and that made it feel like the third place for them. So that way, we hire so many different types of people there. Like we have veterans, we have refugees, we have, U.S. citizens, we have people who aren't citizens coming here on visas, So having that and showing our leaders like closing over 8,000 stores just to bring us all together at the same time to have the same information. Like, it was just really empowering. Like they gave us, I can't share, but so much because it is like corporate stuff, but they just gave us so much good information and just brought us all together. Like there was some negative stuff because it was like, why are we doing this? And customers were kind of upset that the doors were closed so early, but having us all there and knowing that, we're all one human race and we're all together as one, like it just made us all feel good. Made me feel good.
That's so awesome. I didn't hear about that, but that's really cool.
Yeah, I think that's awesome. I had read about it. I thankfully wasn't getting Starbucks that day. But I just think it's awesome that they obviously wanted to show not just, employees, but even America that, hey, we care about this stuff. It's not that we're trying to ignore what's going on. And obviously you can't share, which I totally get, but do you feel like it was worth it to you? Like it was worth your while to be there?
I mean, it was like literally 4 hours of video training. It was people from all over the company, sharing their thoughts and customers sharing their thoughts and employees sharing, experiences they've had. And it's really eye-opening, it's how someone can just assume things about another person because of what they're wearing or because of how they talk to you. But they're still people and you have to treat them as such. It doesn't matter what their background is. And just letting people know that they should already know, but just putting it out there is just so refreshing. It's just nice.
It's kind of a way to tie it back to the resource allocation for Starbucks, because so many companies like don't even want to close on Thanksgiving or Christmas anymore because they're scared they're gonna lose out on a sale. So that says a lot about their core values. So that's really cool.
That's a good example for other companies.
Yeah.
Yeah. So those Zappos videos, like it really touched home because they're so close and they're just all about each other, and like that's how my company needs to be, and like that's what we're trying to do again.
Cool.
It's good.
I think it shows that they're really trying to get you guys all not just positive, but just create a comfortable culture environment for your entire organization, which is cool.
Yeah, definitely.
I was just gonna add real quick on the flip side, because that's awesome. It seems like it was kind of like a resource allocation, like Danielle is saying, but also a little bit of the role modeling. I've had some negative kind of experiences with leadership and everything in my organizations, so that's on the whole other end of the spectrum, really. But I was just saying, sometimes those what do they call them, primary mechanisms can be used to kind of shape a bad culture. And so I've just been, I guess, non-fortunate to be a part of some of those bad cultures. But that's awesome that your company, takes the time to do that.
So I just wanted to, just so nobody gets cut off, are at 14 minutes, 23 seconds. So we have 15 to 18 minutes. So I just want to make sure I give you guys a little heads up. I didn't want to interrupt. I felt like we were having a good discussion.
I say that I've been in very bad organizations with a very horrible culture and morale, and being a part of those, Noah, I mean, is just experience for you to know exactly what not to do or how to improve things in the future. Because I know from my very first experience in the Army, I was in a horrible place, and all I've done is just push that in my own leadership philosophy and push on.
Awesome. Anyone else have anything else to add?
One that really, something that stood out to me, and it kind of ties back to the Starbucks thing, was the elephant in the room. Like, I really admire Starbucks for doing that because it was like, hey, we have this thing going on and like we're putting it out there. Whereas like I've worked in corporate cultures where we've literally, they would fire someone and like nobody would even know. They would just be like, that person's no longer here. And like I even one time they fired someone and they didn't say anything, no announcement was made, like nothing formalized. And I was in charge of literally emptying their desk and mailing them their belongings and their groceries from our refrigerator. So it's just like things like that where you have like two totally different, sides of it. But it's so important to just have that openness from your employees and, not really have that elephant in the room when there's issues, obviously.
Yeah, definitely.
Awesome. Anyone else, anything else to add, or should we be done? I think we're definitely past our 15 minutes. I don't know the exact, but 16 minutes, 22 seconds. So anything else that anyone wants to add?
No.
All right.
Okay.
All right, guys. Well, awesome discussion. I guess we'll all chat next week.
Yep. Have a good one.
Bye.
Good night, guys.
Yeah.
Just, if you're okay to send it. If not, then I have the backup here.